What's going on, guys? Indy here with Ultimate Tour Reviews. Well, going to be doing some organization around the garage and the truck today. Work's been a little slow this week, so I want to make sure I have everything organized and ready to go for next time I do get something popping up. So let's get to it. Got a bunch of the Makita outdoor power tool stuff out right now. And I was kind of unsure with the color a little bit, but it kind of has grown on me a little bit, and it's a very Makita color. It's basically that army green color. I've been using the tools actually quite a bit. We're getting to summer here, so I'll be using this almost every day as we get into more of the summertime. But for the mini blower, this is super useful. I thought this was always really silly before I got one, but now that I have one, I find so many uses for it. If you don't remember, I got this shelf here. That's a really cool video that I did on this. Really cool actually, as it just takes up a very little amount of space here, but it has a ton of storage. Haven't really found much for the use in these two shelves just yet, but being able to store all of my drills and impacts that I use on a daily basis right here is fantastic. So moving over here, I've shown you guys probably the fridge a little bit. I keep my Makita 36-volt saw up on top there. This was a fun story actually with this arcade machine. I actually found this about a mile away, just sitting on the side of the road in front of a house. It was actually missing a lot of the bottom portion here, so I just had to take a couple pieces of plywood and kind of make it, back into a stand sort of. And I really expected it to not work. I was going to do actually a LCD conversion on this to change out the TV, but the TV still works. It's an old CRT TV, and this thing still works perfectly. All the buttons work. I just kind of cleaned up a little bit, and that's about it. So here's some of the tools that I actually just kind of keep out all the time. And I'm sure you guys know I'm big into Makita, but I do of course have Milwaukee, DeWalt, Metabo HPT. And these are two of the Milwaukee tools that I find are just, unmatched by any other brand. This is the Milwaukee M18 Searchlight, and this is the M18 Inflator. Both of them are well above anything else from the other brands that I've tested out. Easily the best two tools from Milwaukee that I use quite frequently, and I can highly recommend those. I do have one of the Makita High Torques. If you watch Torque Test channel, it gets us some, points taken off for, it's not the smoothest tool, which is kind of unusual for a Makita tool, and I actually definitely agree with that. Using this tool, it is, a little rough, but it still works fine. Not a huge deal. However, though, the Metabo HPT is definitely my go-to. I use this thing for doing tire changes, swapping around tires. Works phenomenal. IP56 rate, which is really cool. I have this thing out in the I had this thing out during the Hurricane Ian actually last year, which was pretty fun, and it of course still works perfectly. Of course, the battery is not IP56 rated, but the tool itself is. And I've done a few videos on some of the DeWalt 12-volt impacts. These things are phenomenal. So I got the 3/8 and I have the 1/2 inch. Both are awesome tools, and you can find them for 60, 70 bucks or so on eBay, and they put out some awesome numbers. So let's head out to the truck and let's get some work done there. Alright, so I haven't covered this too much in here, but this is basically a custom base that I ended up building here. When you put the back seats up in my Ram 2500, you of course have the transmission hump right there, and then you also, actually not the transmission hump, the driveline hump is a little bit right there, and then you do of course have these kind of weird compartments, so when these seats are down, they cover that really nicely. So it's not a flat load surface here, and you kind of waste a lot of space. So I can still use these compartments like normal, but building on this piece of plywood here, I added some 1x2 here and then a 1x3 here, so anything can slide around in here and not damage anything else, which is pretty cool. So what also enables me to do is gives me additional storage space below here, so I can then store some socket sets. So let's head over to the other side. Alright, so on this side I've actually got some super used tools over here. This is one of those tools that I wish I had bought sooner. Husky sells this at Home Depot. But check this out. This is going to be the 37-piece bit socket set. So it's going to have your hex keys, Allen keys, Torx bits all in here, which is really nice. And this thing is super useful because it actually allows you to, assemble things like furniture. If you've got any hex keys that you can find, that you got to use them by hand, you can put those on an impact. Of course, throw them on a lower speed setting, and it'll work just fine. So highly recommend this. It was down to like 30 bucks or so on a sale at Husky, I think during one of the holiday sales. That's when I picked it up. I've only ever broken one of them, and of course they took care of me no problem. So, kind of a fun story with these. These are some of the DeWalt's, I think they're the Tough Stacks or T-Stacks, or yeah, T-Stacks, that's what they are. But I've been using these two in my truck for almost 3 years now. And of course, these yellow clips here will break off quite a bit. DeWalt will warranty them, but it's kind of a waste because they're going to break off pretty quick anyways. So I use this one for my ratchet straps. I do a lot of hauling. And then the other one I just use for purely drinks. And then I also keep a few things hidden as well. Husky makes some pretty cool stuff, so check this out. Right behind the seat here, you can actually store one of these Husky cases. And I keep a bunch of pliers and screwdrivers in here. So let me get this opened up quick. Actually got a really nice zipper on here. And this thing is super handy to have. So I've got a Hart multi-tool, some screwdrivers in here, a couple of wrenches, mostly screwdrivers in here though, a couple of backup tools, but really nice to have one of these if you're on the go and you want to be able to hide this thing maybe under your seat or kind of compacted back under the seat there when it's folded up, which is really nice to have. So I also keep some DeWalt tools in here, and I keep just the 12-volt stuff, you know, because it's cheap. I don't really, if I'm going to need something that's more heavy duty, I'm going to have it with me. So if I just need this stuff as more of a backup, it's really nice to have. So I keep a impact, a drill, reciprocating saw, and a circular saw in here. A couple of batteries, including a 5 amp hour battery, and this stuff gets the job done in a pinch really nicely. Of course, we're in Florida, so I don't do lawn care, but when I do it at my house, and I see a lot of lawn guys down here, very popular trade down here, always make sure you have a sun hat ready to go. Definitely avoid the UV rays. Also in the side compartments here, I do keep plenty of recip saws. From testing, watching other reviews, Diablo has pretty much been the best, but I think other brands, you know, I throw them in there too and use them up over time. But for the most part, it's always been Diablo. All right, so the truck's all set, and here's kind of what I do for fun on the weekends. I like to buy go-karts, mini bikes on Facebook. I like to buy the ones that are, you know, have some damage to them or, you know, have been sitting outside for forever. So this go-kart here I actually picked up on Facebook for 300 bucks. Came with everything back here. The tires, in fact, were older and they were basically all shot. I got the seat from a client, which is pretty cool. Came with the steering wheel. The entire front suspension and front steering assembly here was all shot, so I do some modifications. Actually, really easy modification here is these tie rods were totally shot, but I used a drill and just drilled right through them and put a nut and bolt in there and put some Loctite, and these are all fine to go now. So I mean, it's just a go-kart and it works totally fine now, so works cool. I had a hard time finding the right tires for this. They needed to have a built-in bearing, so basically what I did was just find some at Tractor Supply Co. that were able to hold up to, I kind of aimed for like the 300-pound mark, just so I had some other cheap ones from Harbor Freight, and they ended up blowing the rims out within a couple minutes. So these work better from Tractor Supply Co. In the back here, got a Predator 212 with a CVT. It's got a live axle and works fantastic. I'm probably about 500 bucks into this project now total, and of course when it comes to these go-karts, you can resell those on Facebook fully functional for about $1,000. So they're always pretty cool to have. A lot of fun. Take them out to the farm once in a while. Really cool to have some fun. And I've always been into mini bikes. You know, I like motorcycles, but here in Florida it's quite dangerous to have motorcycles, so mini bikes are a great alternative to that, where you can still, you know, ride them outside once in a while, not on the street of course, but you know, keep them off the road. And I ride them on, you know, out in the farm I've got, and they're actually pretty fun because there's no insurance, no registration. It's not going to cost something to have every month, but they're overall very easy to fix and repair. Really not much work to them at all, and they're pretty fun. So this one here is almost fully stage 2. It's basically been fully rebuilt from the ground up. Engine was fully pulled apart. It's built everything. Stage 1 Mikuni carb. Got a racing fuel tank. I think the only thing original on this bike now, I think, is just the frame. Everything else has been totally replaced, which is the total opposite of this Coleman here. This is the CT200 from Coleman. It's a 2017, and it's totally original. Everything is basically bone stock on it. And it's just a fun little bike that's totally reliable, which is pretty cool. Oh, and then here's that Daytona jack that I picked up not too long ago. Had a lot of the 2 tons, and I use them for things like the go-kart, my truck, trailer, changing tires there, but The 2-tons always kind of fail on me within a year or two, so I went up to a 3-ton, you know, kind of bit the bullet at over $200 for that thing, but it works just fine. So guys, hope you guys enjoyed the episode here. Let me know in the comments below if you got any suggestions on what else you guys want to see. I'm going to be doing a lot of tool organization, working around the house now, and of course still doing a lot of tool reviews. So thanks for watching, guys. Take care, have a great day, and stay safe out there.